Set.
I couldn't turn.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Begin the meeting with a moment of silence. This meeting is being recorded and televised by the local cable company. I'd like a motion to approve bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
A motion to accept correspondence in the read file.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public forum. If there's anyone here who wants to speak about something that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do it. Yes.
Good evening, Chair. Don Byers, 20 Russell Road. I want to ask permission if I can make a public comment in regard to your executive session agenda item for the Corthell
No,
Building, 168 Whitman Ave.
There's something on the agenda.
Right, but it's executive session, so if I
Right.
were to wait until before you entered executive session, could I make a public
You know
comment?
what? Do it now.
Okay. I reached out to some of you regarding this town-owned property. So my ask is that before you go into deliberate for executive session matters, that you discuss in public forum the information regarding this town property and the history of it and the lease that would have gone or originated in 1993. I did share information that the organization that currently occupies that property is Self-Help Inc. They are a $43 million organization, nonprofit. Their 2021 tax return shows, net assets of $2.4 million, and that they have 6 locations with property valued at $6 million in building assets. So it's my understanding historically, the community has been told that in one sense the town didn't own this property, or that perhaps it was leased for $1 a year. I don't know the conditions of that or that agreement, but if you are entering into negotiations for a new lease on this, I would ask that you consider that while this is a nonprofit organization and they do fantastic work for families in the communities, they do have fiscal means and they receive government grants, federal grants for Head Start programming. I will say that my background is nonprofit accounting, so I understand some of these grants, and there are allocations for property and funding and costs associated with building use and property. So for the benefit of our taxpayers here in Whitman, I stand here just as a taxpayer myself, knowing that in the past so often a response has been given to community members that the town can't afford it for various needs that our community members have. So if we are sort of lending out town property at a reduced rate, it goes without saying that something doesn't seem right there, where we're telling taxpayers you can't have certain services or programs because the town can't afford it, but yet we're able to afford for 30 years offering this building at perhaps no revenue to the town.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will. We'll take what you said into consideration when we're in executive session. I'm not going to ask for any further comment on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's advice. We'll take it into consideration. Anybody else? Thank you, Dawn. Approval of meeting minutes, open session, September 26, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Open session, September 29th, 2023.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that the one I wasn't at? Is that the one? Okay, I abstain on that one. Open session, October 3rd, 2023. Is there a motion?
Second.
So moved.
Whatever.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's beautiful. It's reached exactly 7:05. We're going to have a public hearing with respect to the petition of Mass Electric Company doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated to install one JO pole on Bedford Street, beginning at a point approximately 320 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Bedford Street and Glen Street. install a new pole P55-50 at approximately 42 degrees, 4 feet 43.7 inches north, 70 degrees 56 feet 48.9 inches west. Is there someone here from? Yes. Introduce yourself, please, and
How's it going? My name's Aaron Amuzu. I'm a design contractor with Control Point Technologies, and our current client is National Grid. So yeah, like you just said, here to approve the pole petition for a joint pole at Bedford Street, right in between pole 56 and pole 55 of that street. It's a mid-span pole, so it's going to be 40 feet in between those two poles. It's not going to encroach on any other, like it's not going to have a bigger footprint than what it is. It's literally just going to be in the middle of two other poles. It's not going to need any easement or anything, as it's still in the public right away. So, just here to get your approval on that.
thank you. Is there a motion to
So moved.
Second.
do whatever we need to do? And Justin will want to tell you that,
Yeah, as typically with National Grid, I'm going to abstain from this vote because I have a work relationship with them.
Okay.
anyone have any questions? Okay. All those in favor of whatever we just moved?
Yep. Aye.
One abstention.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another hearing at 7:15, but between now and 7:15, we can take care of some new business. Act on the resignation of Cheryl McPhee as a member of the Whitman Cultural Council. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of the Whitman Cultural Council for use of the Town Hall Auditorium on Sunday, December 17th, 2023, for performance by Ruth Harkovitz of Happy Holidays.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of Town Clerk Don Varley to sign the warrant for the November 4th, 2023 special town election.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Act on the request of Homestead Harvest Liz Wilson for a one-day liquor license for a 16-person farm-to-table dinner on October 24th, 2023 on the premises located at 30 Temple Street, Unit C, subject to the receipt of the license fee on or before October 24th. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. She's done this before.
And we probably don't have, I don't know, Joe, the next item on the agenda is to discuss the intersection of Auburn Street and Harvard Street. Do you have a report to give?
Sure, a few brief ones.
It takes like 2.5 minutes? No, actually, you have almost 5 minutes.
That's way too much. So I believe this is a citizen petition that was requested this to lower the speed limit on Auburn Street near the intersection of Harvard Street. We've done a 10-year study on accidents in that area. I think we provided that to you. About 50% of the time there's an accident there, there's an injury, although the most amount of accidents there have been there has been 5 in 1 year, I believe. So, and they've been reduced over the years. There's been a lot of work at that intersection at Auburn and Harvard recently. So just a little background, the current speed limit on Route 14 is a posted 40 miles per hour both ways. It dips down to 25 miles per hour heading up towards Washington Street. Just when you get to the T intersection of Washington Street. It's the only place it dips down below 40. There's flashing red and yellow light overhead at the intersection. It's been there for years, very visible. They've repainted crosswalks. They've actually widened the breakdown lane in that area near the intersection, which gives cyclists a bigger lane to travel in. And the DOT says that narrowing travel lanes also slows traffic down. So that's a dual purpose there. We did contact the Old Colony Planning Council, and they are going to do a study on Auburn Street for the Auburnville Way complaint that has been coming through there. They've requested one up there in November, and they're going to include a Harvard Street at Auburn Street study when they do that one. So, so we look forward to that. We're going to do our own speed study for that area. We'll get, both lanes travel in both directions. We'll get the, median speed, the high speeds. We'll do that for about a week in each direction, and that'll give us a good picture of the traffic flow and what the speeds look like there. I live right around the corner. I deal with that intersection every day. It's not too bad. I mean, if you just use caution, like most every place else, it's pretty good. We have DPW put new caution intersection ahead flashing lights on either side of that. They're solar powered and they're like high vis yellow and they flash. So there has been some improvements to that intersection to make it more visible, to make people aware of the safety concerns of that intersection. And we're going to do what we can along with the Old Colony Planning Council to ensure that it stays that way.
Great.
So.
Thank you, Joe. Does anyone have any questions for Joe?
Yeah, I have, Joe, just to let you know, I had my MPO meeting, the Old Colony Planning Council, since I represent all
He
the
spoke
towns.
very highly of you, by the way.
Yeah, and Charlie said that they will be looking at that, and I said, why isn't it considered under the, speed law where you have so many housing there?
Thickly settled, Dan.
There was one house on 14, and that came down. They built the 5 or 6 houses in the street. So I mean, that section, why not the fundamental speed law? Why not
Dip it down to
thickly
30.
settled?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't.
what,
He
30
didn't
or
have an
35?
answer at the time. I talked to Charlie too, to Charles, and that's one of the recommendations we could make, but probably after his study comes out and after ours comes out.
I'll push for it.
We're going to give you guys all the information we can, and it's probably going to be something that the board is going to want to discuss and
I'll push
vote
for it.
on. So.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anyone have any questions? Yes, I'm sorry, Sean.
Just any idea about timeline on those studies?
Well, he told me November, so so that's right around the corner. It doesn't take very long for them to do a study. I think they can get it done in a week. I just don't know what week they're planning on doing it. So.
And then, I guess to the chair, do you know what the process is for declaring an area thickly settled? Is that a board decision? Is it a...
No, so it's a state highway, but it's owned and maintained by the town of Whitman. So I still think we need to petition the state, but they would probably go by any of our recommendations at that point. But we still have to keep them involved in the process.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything in a chairman's report today. Beth, do you want to give your town administrator's report?
Sure.
Because we have 15 minutes.
Okay. Yesterday, I received a letter from the Board of Health stating that they voted to accept the CDC's isolation precautions for people with COVID-19 dated May 11th, 2023. They also voted for the Board of Health, for the Department of Public Health, for the town of Whitman, for the health agent, the administrative assistant, and public health nurse not to interpret the CDC policy. They had to take the policy as written, and if any questions or calls regarding COVID policy, to direct them to the town administrator for the town of Whitman. So I feel that the Board of Health, the health agent, the administrative assistant, and the public health nurse should be the ones to respond to any questions regarding the CDC policy, as they're the most, well-versed employees on this issue. This is important because the public health nurse actually follows state guidelines for COVID. She will compare both the policies, the CDC guidelines and the state, and note any differences. But I think it makes more sense that the calls go to them on that information. So that has been done. And then also, one other thing I just wanted to mention, I received this today, a municipality work notification form. So the Mass DOT will be conducting work in your community in the near future. The project location is Whitman, Route 27, 934 Temple Street to High Street. The estimated start date of work is today. The project type is maintenance, and it is hours of operation will be from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. The description of traffic management, no detours needed. Traffic will be controlled by the local PD, and it's estimated to take 2 weeks. It is to mill, pave, structure adjustment, and stripping. And this just came through. It says drivers who are traveling through the affected areas should expect delays, reduce speed, and use caution. All scheduled work is weather dependent and/or may be impacted due to an emergency situation.
Just to be clear on that last item, that refers to employees only, as far as the CDC and the state guidelines, right?
You know, in the letter from the board, it says the board voted to accept the CDC's isolation precautions for people with COVID-19 dated May 11th, 2023.
This is Board of Health.
This is the Board of Health's
Health.
letter, yes.
And did it
They
refer,
voted.
does it refer to all our citizens, or does it refer to just the employees?
It just says for people. It does not say employees.
Okay.
It does not. So I
Maybe
can seek clarification on that.
And maybe we can clarify that.
Right,
Okay.
right. I would think for the employees
Yeah.
who call in and, you know, want information on what they need to do. But I will clarify.
Okay.
7:15.
Do you have anyone that's not here that's going to be
I
here?
have one, but he could be here anytime, so
Yeah.
we can start.
The liquor license thing first. The liquor license
Where's
public
that?
hearing too. 7:15 hearing.
Oh, didn't we do that?
No,
We don't need a liquor license, we're fine if we.
Really speak for yourself.
We didn't do the one at 7:50?
we're doing 7:15, we gotta do that.
Oh, my mistake. Okay. We'll have a public meeting now with respect to the application of Memorial Field Association Incorporated for a change of officers, directors, LLC managers in connection with the all alcohol club liquor license on the premises located at 33 Legion Parkway. Is there somebody here to speak about that? Yes. I'm sorry I missed that.
I am Jim Murphy. The Memorial Field Association is the members club, the function hall, which is inside the American Legion post. The American Legion cannot own bars, so you have to have a separate corporation. So every year we have elections, and we have to report the elections to the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission every year. It's just a paperwork we have to do.
Okay. Does someone like to make a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Anyone have any questions of Mr. Murphy?
Yep. Comment.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you
you.
very much.
Did we miss anything else?
You're good.
We're good. Yeah, except if someone thought that the meeting was going to happen at 7:30 and they wanted to be here, probably have to wait. If I could,
Committee is posted for 7 p.m.
pardon me?
The school committee is posted for 7 p.m.
But their agenda says 7:30.
Oh, you were posted for 7?
Originally, yeah.
Maybe that covers us then. Please join us.
Yeah. We can join the meeting at 7:30. What? They can have their meeting. You don't want to sit over this.
Mary Beth, wait till he's over.
I got to go over on the table.
Chris. Thanks, Beth. I was going to try to dream up a chairman's report that would last 10 minutes, but I don't think that would make any sense.
Just talk about Steve's haircut for a couple minutes.
Holy cow. Looking good.
Passing something out, I'll wait till
All right.
I don't know what to say.
He introduced himself with a pair of scissors.
Beth,
I gotta get it.
Only 17
No,
bucks
it's all right.
across the
I
street.
gotta get it.
With my niece.
It looks nice.
Should've seen the
So,
last-
before we begin, I have to call our meeting to order. Okay, so I'd like to call this meeting, the Whitman Hanson School Committee at 7:20 p.m.
Okay. Beth had asked that we have a joint meeting because we have actually one task to deal with. But the task is a very important one. And it's to decide, and it's your decision to decide, but Beth wanted to talk to us about it, to decide which method of borrowing we would use for the new Whitman Middle School. Mary Beth and Sean have prepared a kind of a presentation about the value of one of the methods to bond. And then there's and Mary Beth, you can talk about the other one too. We're really fortunate to have a town administrator who is a treasurer collector for a long time, and she's helped us out an awful lot. But that's the purpose of the meeting, and hopefully, if we understand things, that you guys will be able to vote tonight to decide which method we want to use, which method you want to use for us to live with. Yes. Okay. Mary Beth.
I think Sean wanted to talk about the graph first.
Do you mind if we put it up here as well?
That would
Nope,
be
it should
awesome.
Yeah.
It's okay. I know it's small.
Yeah, it's really small.
Yeah, but it's bigger than this.
I think
But it's further away from it.
this is from the financial consultant that we've been working with, and I think it's just to get a big picture idea of the kind of like the difference between one method or the other. Numbers can be hard to talk about, and hopefully I can just give you some helpful information to kind of get a feel for where we're coming from and the difference between the two methods. So on the right side, you can see is the level principal, which is the method that we're kind of recommending. And on the left side is the level debt. What the level principal means, I'll start on the right side. Basically, you take $90 million, which is how much we have to borrow, and you divide it up into 30 years, that's $3 million a year. That's the level principal. We're going to pay $3 million a year in just principal. But then in the first year, if you think about it, you also have to pay interest. So interest on $90 million, 5.5%, is about $5 million, right? Like 5% of $100 million is $5 million. So you take the $5 million and you add it to the $3 million principal, and that's the $8 million first year payment. Does that make sense? And then what happens with each year, this is on the right side, you can see how it's getting smaller with each year. The reason why it's getting smaller is because you're still paying the $3 million principal, but the interest is getting slightly smaller each year. You take that all the way to the end on the 30th year. On the 30th year, we pay $3 million, our last $3 million payment, and we're only paying interest on $3 million. Interest on $3 million is about $150,000. So the last payment in that method is $3,150,000, roughly. So the key piece there is it starts at about $8 million and it works its way down all the way to just over $3 million. When you come over to the level debt payment, what you're going to do in the first year and then in all years after that, you're going to pay $6.2 million. So $6.2 million is the same payment all the way across the board. So what happens in the first year is you pay that $5 million in interest, because the $5 million in interest is the same in the first year, but you're only paying like $1.2 million. So you pay the same amount of interest in the first year, but only $1.2 million instead of the $3 million in the other one. So basically, in the one on the right, we're paying more interest up front, and it's working the interest down throughout the life of the loan, which means that we pay less interest over the life of the loan.
More principal up front.
More principal, thank you. More principal up front, and the interest is whittled down. Here, we're paying more interest up front, the $5 million, and less principal, and then the last payment is mostly principal and very little interest. Does that make sense? Questions about the difference between the level debt versus the level principal? The other major piece that I'm sure Mary Beth is going to speak about as well is if you add the difference between the two over time, it's about $19 million difference. So $19 million less on the right side with the level principal, the one that we're recommending, as opposed to on the left side, the level payment. So hopefully the graph gives you a bit of an idea. We had developed the graph to show some of the other projects because we also have to think about how it's going to fit in line with some of the other projects, but you can see how one versus the other.
Thank you. Mary Beth, you want to?
Sure. Okay, and to add to that, first I'd just like to list some facts here. The town must approve the issuance of debt for the Whitman Middle School project, both at the special town meeting on Monday, October 30th, and at the ballot box on Saturday, November 4th, in order for the current MSBA project to move forward. If approved, the district will be the borrower of the debt for the Whitman Middle School project. They will be what I consider the conduit for the borrowing for this project. The town votes to approve the project, and the town votes to pay the debt through an assessment from the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District each fiscal year. The town will fund the debt payments through taxation as a debt exclusion, which is debt outside the levy, voted by the town. The district will then make the debt payment to the issuer. The debt for a major construction project is often done using both short-term borrowing, which is often referred to as BANs, bond anticipation notes, and long-term borrowing, referred to as bonds. The bond anticipation note rate and the bond rate are based on the district's bond rating and not the town's bond rating. One major decision which needs to be made regarding the debt for this project is whether the debt service structure, which is basically the terms of the loan, will be based on a level debt service structure or a level principal structure. For level debt, this is a debt service structure that's very similar to a fixed mortgage. The debt payment each year remains constant. A level debt service structure reduces the early year's principal payback by the borrower in order to lower principal and interest payments on the front end. However, since the borrower is making smaller principal payments, the amount of outstanding debt subject to interest costs stays at a higher level and thus increases interest costs over the term of the bond. With level principal structure pays off the outstanding principal faster over the term of the bonds and thus reduces interest costs. With level principal, the principal and interest payments in the early years are higher than with level debt service, but the annual principal and interest cost reduces every year thereafter and creates space for other capital projects that may be needed in the future. In years 1 through 10, the average assessed owner will pay $329.81 down to $20.72. So the first year, they will pay $329.81 less with a level debt structure than a level principal payment. In year 10, that difference is only $20.72 less. However, in years 11 through 30, the average assessed homeowner will pay $10.92 in the 11th year, up to $569.01 more each year for the level debt service structure. So in the beginning years, you're paying less with level debt than you are with level principal, just the first 10. And so people have to realize that difference that they see when the first year is quoted as a comparison is only in year 1. And that difference goes down on the level debt to the point where in the 11th year, the level debt structure is costing more than the level principal structure. So the level debt service structure will cost the town an additional $19 million in interest for this project over the term of the bonds. The additional cost in interest to the homeowner, with an average assessed valuation of $420,530 over the term of the bonds, will be $4,385.51. And this is all projected on an estimated rate of 5.5% for 30 years. So the average taxpayer with the level debt service will pay $4,385.51 more than if the level principal structure is chosen. For these reasons, I do not recommend the level debt service structure for the Whitman Middle School project borrowing. I recommend the level principal structure. The district and the town both use UFASI, which is Unibank Fiscal Advisory Services Incorporated, for their financial advisors. Each entity has a different representative. We have Ben Oglesby, and the school district has somebody different. The Unibank advisor for the town, Ben Oglesby, has stated that he cannot think of any reason, a municipality would choose a level debt structure over a level principal structure for a building construction project due to the significant difference in interest. In this case, we're looking at $19 million more to go with a level debt as opposed to a level principal structure. I'm hopeful that the district will do as it has done in the past and work with the town to choose the most fiscally responsible debt service structure for the Whitman Middle School project borrowing. And the figures quoted tonight, which I can give some examples here, regarding level debt payments versus level principal payments are estimates. They're based on a $90 million borrowing for a 30-year term with a 5.5% interest rate. These numbers represent an estimated annual payment for a home with a current average assessment of $420,530. The actual amount a taxpayer will incur may be more or less depending on a homeowner's actual assessment. So if somebody's home is valued at $800,000, they're looking at roughly double. If it's less than the $425,530, then their cost should be less.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Does anyone have any questions of Mary Beth?
Not a question, but just to say that the assessed value is definitely different than what your market value is.
Absolutely. And these are based on assessed.
Don't know that, but just
That's correct.
as a clarifying point.
Okay, so a couple of questions from Mary Beth. I've had a couple people talk to me and a couple of questions that I actually was wondering too. So with the, and I always get them mixed up, so I wrote down, with the level principal. Okay, so the amount that is assessed is lower. So will the taxpayer's assessment get lower each year also? In other words, will we be paying less taxes? The first year it's $1,400. The next year it's $1,369.98. Then it goes down to down different at the point. In other words, that the money goes down that is owed. You know, the principal, the amount is paid. Do the taxpayers see a decrease in their amount?
No. So this is based on the average assessed value of $425.30. Of course, the actual number that we'll be using will be whatever year we actually go out to bond this money. But this is on a valuation, an assessed value of $425.30 every single year. So that's not taking into account if the valuations are lower one year or higher the next. This is just using the average as it stands
So if the town gets reassessed, homeowners get reassessed, which we do every once in a while, will that up the taxpayer amount that they have to pay then?
Can I?
Sure. Go
I
ahead.
think you want to clarify your question because I don't know that we're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
On the $8 million borrowing the first year and the $3 million payment the first year versus the $3 million payment last year, that is the amount that is distributed among the taxpayers by their assessed value.
Correct.
So as the payments go down, the amount of that debt that we are assessing back to the taxpayers is also going down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so regardless of the, and if
That's
your
correct.
home values go up or down, we're still splitting that $8 to $3 million among.
Okay, so it
Whatever the
won't
current-
matter if it's reassessed or anything?
Yeah, because we're
It'll-
taking out the debt. We're taking
We're taking it
borrowing.
as this
We have to
point.
make an $8 million payment the first year.
First, as this point in
Exactly.
time, so everything is at this point in time
That's
then,
right.
well,
Given year.
or when we take it out, I should say, because that's what people need to understand too. When will the borrowing happen? That's another question that people are asking. I wanted this meeting today because I want a decision about this, understanding that these are not going to be exact numbers. because we're not there yet. But we are trying to give all the taxpayers an idea of what's to be expected to the best of our knowledge. So, and that's why I wanted to do this tonight, so that we could hopefully have a decision so that the taxpayers for the town meeting will have a general idea of what's to come. So that was my point in that. So I guess I just, I didn't know if some of my other folks had some more questions too. So Fred, did you have some?
I don't have questions. I mean, proportionately, you know, we have a debt and it gets distributed annually, proportionately by your tax base. The debt goes down, your portion goes down, so to speak.
So, right.
You know, you put an addition on your house and, you know, changes the values, etc.
That's different.
That's a whole different world as far as the levy, but your portion of the debt structure, you know, is consistent. The amount that the town owes is consistent. I mean, you look at the high school. What are we looking at in a couple of years when that ends? 350,000?
300 something, yeah.
You know, it's come down considerably from that 20-something million.
Yeah.
Can I add to that just for a second? If you go with the level principal, that's the case. But if you go with the level debt, which is something you guys are considering, it doesn't go down. It looks like it's going down here only because what we're doing is we're adding 2% on the levy each year, how much money we collect. That's why it's kind of getting incrementally smaller. But if you chose to go with the level debt, it would stay at 6.2 million the whole life of the loan. It's not decreasing. It's only if you chose the level principal that's going down, because we're chipping away at the principal significantly, which means we're paying less interest. So
Appreciate that clarification. The other thing, you know, as projects become needed within the town, and perhaps school projects, etc., by having the capacity of what's outstanding and what's been borrowed declining, it does leave room, so to speak, you know, to accomplish other things.
Another clarification too, that was asked, and it was discussed during the school committee meeting, so I want it to be out there too, about the chances of in 10 years to go out again to get a better rate and stuff. If you could just talk about that a little bit too.
Sure. So the town does that every year. Our financial advisor looks at all the town's debt to see if there is anything that is eligible to be basically refinanced, like you would with your mortgage. Usually it's 10 years before a project is even eligible. But again, where will rates be in 10 years? Right. So we don't know whether it would be advantageous or not. But our FA looks at that both, I'm sure, for the district and for the town each and every year. And we have done some refunding issues.
in addition to that, just for you, so that you're aware, after 10 years with the level principal, we'll pay down the principal about $31 million. But if we went with the level payment, we pay down the principal only $17 million. So if you think about it that way, we'd only have about $60 million in 10 years to refinance if we went with the level principal. But we're only chipping away at the principal, but $17 million if you go with the level payment.
Fred?
Anyone else?
Number one, that's exactly what we do with the high school. It was refinanced, I want to say 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
Yeah, it was
Something like
before
that.
I came on, so I remember doing it.
You know, that it was refinanced and it saved the towns on the assessment.
I remember
while not lengthening the term at all.
Right.
So that was quite beneficial. The market conditions were there at that point in time. And I'm sure that, you know, it would always be something that would be looked at.
Stephen? Yeah?
Sure, even if there's a refinance looking to be looked at in 10 years or so, it's still the process of how that will be repaid. That will be renegotiated again, whether it's the level principal or the level debt. So that will be looked at again. So regardless of the rate, yes, of course, you have the lowest rate right now. What's the best way to pay it back? And you know, even if it was a higher rate, we'd still be having the same discussion. What's the best way to pay it back? And it seems common sense to me. You want to attack debt. You want to attack the debt. You want a higher principal payment at first. where you gradually decrease. You're saving money, and for the homeowners with the leveled principal method. But again, it seems like the interest rate, if that changes and you're able to get a lower rate, you would still have the discussion how we're going to pay it back. It's still the choice of these two.
Not necessarily, no, it will stay the same.
That never came up when we refinanced
Yeah.
the high school.
No.
It does,
It
so
was
you
always-
okay, you
well,
would keep the same payment.
Never came up. It was always level principal. As a matter of fact, I don't think it came up when we built the high school. It was level principal.
Yeah.
And the discussion on the building committee at that time was the term, 25 or 30 years.
You wouldn't renegotiate that with the bank, the lender? That doesn't get,
Well, the building committee at that time, we didn't discuss even considering level payment. And the person that was driving that discussion on the school committee at the time and also on the building committee, Peter Muse, was also the president of First Citizens Federal Credit Union. That was driving the financial considerations. We sort of acquiesced to his guidance at that point in time. The level payment was never even brought up or discussed.
Okay,
Beth, this can be a little bit out of scope, but it's the added value. And I'm not just saying this isn't my selling pitch or anything, but basically where we're talking money, when we did the high school, and Fred well knows this, it was the added value, what it brought. I hear a lot of rumors about the town hall's gonna need something, the fire station's gonna need something in the future. And whether it's disinformation or misinformation, knowing that a new middle school is finally here and finally coming on board, and we're making the best to make it as comfortable for everyone, that added value of that school might offset some of the other things that are in town, and also increase value, not just with homes, but also, with ratings, with both the town and the region.
Yeah.
So it can have a lot of impact like that.
Very good. Yes, Dawn?
Through you, Chair, to Selectman Kane, you mentioned first off that you're working with a consultant on this graph. Can you share who you're working with, or?
Mary Beth can speak to that.
Sure, it's our financial advisor, Ben Oglesby.
Okay, I'm just remembering, so I wasn't sure if it was a consultant from town meeting. I think we had authorized at town meeting this past May about funding a consultant to look at the town, so I didn't know if it had started. Also, back in 2019, I was appointed to the Budget Override Evaluation Committee, which also had a consultant, which was John Madden. He gave extensive numbers regarding a path for the town. Spent a lot of hours here in this meeting hall in the summer and throughout that year. And there was a financial capital plan included with that too. And there was an inevitable override for capital for the town to handle. So I think we can't overlook that was an indication back in 2019 to handle some capital within the town. And we certainly haven't seen that come to fruition for one reason or other. I have a question on this chart. In one observation, it's well below the red line for a decade, for 10 years. So when we think of our neighbors and taxpayers looking at either of these payments, it is very overwhelming because for 10 years, there was very little debt handled or managed by the town. So taxpayers haven't been accustomed to even having to pay for infrastructure improvements. So that's my one observation here. And that's no fault of the taxpayers. I have a question on the coloring and the explanation here for 2019. And again, I keep having to like here. So you have orange is the 2011 new police station, right? But what kind of debt was that in 2011? And then in 2001, the yellow says town projects, police, fire, town hall. I'm just trying to remember, which is the debt from 2019? We had a debt exclusion in 2019 that we voted which was the previous police station, fire station, town hall restoration, which was being paid out of free cash, that citizens voted. So how, can you help me understand
I think what...
the layout here?
If you want to speak, but I think what we did was just kept it as excluded because it's hard to identify how to do that. We borrowed that money for the new police station back in 2012. So that's the orange, if that makes sense. We excluded it further down the road. Like you
Okay.
said.
Okay. So orange, I see. So for
just
from
kinda-
2011 to 2019, those were free cash payments. That wasn't even debt. Okay.
The red line represents our debt management policy. So we're trying to get a handle on our debt and manage it, the best way that we can. So this is in reference to our debt management policy, if that's helpful. So this isn't perfect, and any feedback is certainly helpful that we can go back and tweak things, but we're trying to manage debt more, more in line with best practices.
Okay, I think my last comment, Chair, is, town administrator mentioned that bond counsel said they can't think of any reason why a person would not go with level principal. Well, I can think of every reason why we should not go level principal. Because at this moment, every taxpayer feels both options are probably out of reach for them. But if you were to put one in front of the other, and I know my home mortgage is a level debt, 30 years. And maybe that's not the best practice for municipalities, but we can look at the last decade, and I don't see that some best practices have been followed here. So to now want to follow the largest jump, the most significant increase to our neighbors and ourselves, puts this building completely out of reach. Completely, for some people, they can't do it. So I see a level debt as a very real option to begin this town and the capital plan to be some stability. At least this is stable. And then we begin to build on that and begin a plan around that stable debt, and maybe and revisit it in 10 years if that's necessary.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we utilize the level principal method in financing the
And then we
bond.
can further discuss, sure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so open for discussion, further discussion. Yes, Fred.
I can't see burdening the taxpayers for an additional $19 million. While something may be a little less expensive out of your pocket initially as the long-term plan, and to me the chart does make a lot of sense. And the town will have other needs in the future as well. It makes sense. That is the way for us to go. That's the advice of bond counsel. At the same time, these are people that know more than I do. I'm just looking at it sort of, fairly simple. I wouldn't spend the extra dough.
Okay. Mary Beth, question to you. You gave an amount, and I have the two things, but if you could just give it to me, it was $300 and something a month difference.
Oh,
I mean a year difference, sorry.
Yes.
Not a month.
Let me just get you that
It was
again.
300,
So, the first year, looking at level debt as opposed to level principal, the level debt is lower by $329.81.
so, okay, so just to let everybody know, just a quick figure, it's about $26 a month difference.
That's the first year only.
Right.
And then it decreases,
Right.
and in the 10th year, it's only $20
Right.
and 72 cents
So
less.
it goes down from that. So the first year, if you go with the level principal, you're going to be paying about, out of your pocket, about $26 more a month, or so. But then, like you said, it goes down. That one's going to go down. So it's not going to be that much extra than the original 1164.
And in year 11 through 30, you're paying more than the level principal, which is the cost that is going to basically cost the average assessed owner over $4,300 over the term.
And I want to say, as on the school committee as the elder statesman, retiree, fixed income person here, that it's not going to be great and easy either way, but, and I won't be here for the 30 years, I'm sure, you know. And if I am, I won't remember, so I won't remember what happened here, I'm sure. But, so that part, you know, I'm just looking at what people want to talk about, what people want to argue about, and the difference in the money. But I have to look at the future too, for the town of Whitman and for everybody, just like I look at the future for the children with the new school. And that Fred, I'm agreeing with you. I know, we're gonna, you know, which I didn't think I would. Because I was for the less money.
I'm not good
and
at
everything.
salesman.
No. Mary Beth is. I'll give it to Mary Beth. No, hearing the whole big picture, and looking at the amount of money really, to the amount of savings to the town, it's, you know, I'll find a way. That's, you know, I'll find a way.
Beth, we're coming from the same position, you and I. We've been coming from the same position for a whole long time.
A long time,
That's
Carl,
right,
yes.
and I couldn't agree with you more. When I think of the fact that it's going to cost $19 million less over the course of the 30 years, it's simple, and I know I won't be around then.
Yeah.
But I want the people in Whitman to feel good about it then.
Yeah. Chris, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, so I sit on the building committee, and we've all voted in favor of this, well, the committee has voted in favor of the project. So we're all in support of the project. And I just, you know, I look at it in terms of, we really owe it as elected officials to have a vision for our future, right? But to have a, you know, a responsible vision and do our due diligence, and that's part of the reason why I was a proponent of meeting with you all tonight, to hear it and discuss it openly. You know, it would be hard to support anything other than level principal, knowing the added costs, and that's a tough pill to swallow for those that are, you know, hoping this comes to fruition, this project comes to fruition. But I think we're going to have other decisions down the road that are going to be just as tough as this one. And I think it's a good precedent at this point to start going forward and be as responsible as we can be, but also knowing that we do have some, you know, expensive projects coming up, and we should do all we can to approach them with vision, but with honesty as well, you know. So.
Thank you, Chris.
Anybody else from the board? Okay, I guess we will now take a vote. All right, so the motion on the floor is the level principal. So all in favor of level principal, please raise your hand. Okay, it is 8 and 1. And so you have, yes, Dawn?
I was voting.
Oh, yeah, no, I know, yeah. So you have our decision. I hope that you go well with it, and we do the best we can. So, motion to adjourn the school committee? All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay. We'll,
Thank you all.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Beth.
Appreciate the invitation.
We'll give you time to clear the room.
Remember it after the first of the year.
Can we give an unabashed plug? www.wmsproject.org.
A lot of new info on there.
There's a lot of videos, there's tours. The next building tour for the middle school is Saturday from 10 to 2. We encourage everyone in the public to please come, tour the building, see why we're saying we need a new school, and we need it desperately.
Thank you.
Join us at the town meeting and for availability. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Someone's disappointed they couldn't do it.
Okay. I know.
I love it. Good job.
Is she there? Okay. We need to go into an executive session now. I actually need to go into 3 executive sessions.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4, I'm sorry. So I'll read them all, and then we'll go in, and we'll probably adjourn right afterwards. One executive session is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 2, 21A, Exception 2, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. This next one is an executive session with pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Exception 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. The third, another executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Exception 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. And 4, the last executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Exception 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. We need voice votes to go into those executive sessions.
I'll make that move to into executive session.
Second.
Okay, Jay, John.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Laura?
And Laura, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, we're in executive session, and we'll be coming out only to adjourn.